My name is Dilmer Valecillos, and I'm a developer advocate for Meta. And today I'm going to be talking about accelerating Quest development with agentic workflows. I had a lot of questions from you when I saw you, and I'm really excited about this talk. We have been investing a lot in these tools. And I've been also thinking a lot about it on my own time, doing a lot of side projects. So yeah, so if you look at this image, I think a lot of people here are creators, a lot of developers, and think about that cloud and think about you, right? Like you guys have like jobs, you have family, you have kids. There's a lot of things going on, and a lot of the time, like I used to be the person working on projects all the time. I had a lot of time. I didn't have kids. Now things change, so time is, it's really difficult. So this is my cloud. My cloud is, I'm thinking about, okay, what kind of experiences I can build with XR? What can I do with hand tracking? What can I do with the time that I have? Like as a day job, I'm a developer advocate, so I do a lot of speaking, I think about code. So agentic workflows are allowing us to basically get more time. And I'm gonna show you some of the projects that I've been working on. So the agenda for today is gonna be, we're gonna go through agentic workflows. We're gonna go through the Unity AI Assistant, which is basically the wrapper that I'm using to create some of the prototypes and Meta is actually offering. And then I'm also gonna show you the Meta MCP Extensions, which is basically a wrapper around what Unity is already offering. And think about like an extension with VR components that agents can actually hook into. And then I call this the feature-based AI dev workflow. And that's because I was doing a demo in one of the booths, and the guy is like, Dilmer, do you want to create, I'm going to recreate your basketball game, which I'm going to show you. And I'm like, okay, I want to see that. And he basically prompted, create this basketball game for this platform. But he prompted to create the whole thing. And I don't think that's like the right approach. I think the right approach is you should be doing things feature-based. If you're a developer, your mentality changes because you want to build things like from the ground up, right? You know the architecture, the coding patterns. Am I using an observable pattern? Am I using a specific data structure? So anyways, I think a lot about that when it comes to development and creation. And this applies to everything. Like you don't need to be a developer. I'm gonna walk you through what I do. And then I'm gonna show you some really cool tools that I just got green light on to talk about, which are gonna be basically the end. So these are some of the tools that we have, we're pushing with agentic workflows. So the first one is Meta VR CLI, and that basically allows you to connect to a device. So if you wanted to uninstall an application, if you wanted to pull logs from an application. So think about Meta VR CLI as a way to manage the device from an agentic workflow. The agentic repo is a collection of skills. So if you want to support, let's say that you're working on a WebXR application, you're working on a Unity application, there are a lot of skills in there that allow the agents to get more context. And then we have also extensions for different IDEs. So if you're using Cursor today, I know a lot of people use Cursor. I used to use Writer, and I'm not using Writer. I'll tell you why that is. But yeah, if you're using VS Code, there are different extensions that basically hook the Meta VR CLI into the IDE. So we have extensions that are available for IDE. We have Meta VR CLI, which exposes a lot of functionality for Meta Quests. And then we also have the last part, it's more for continuous integration, like if you had automation or you want to do something more custom, we have basically executables that, the same executable that is available and embedded into the other three are gonna be, it's gonna be the same one that is available in NPM. Okay, so what agentic workflows mean? And I know many of you might know, some of you might like, oh, Dilmer, what are you talking about? So think about like something that you want to do, or like if you're on a phone call, you're having a call with a client, and let's say that you're like thinking about coding. I want to implement this feature on this application that I want to build, and you're like, well, I need to stop my call, and then I need to jump into the computer and implement that feature. So with agentic workflow, it's more like an autonomous task. You define the criteria, you define the prompt, and then once you do that and you submit it, depending on the rules, the criteria, the skills, it's going to execute a routine. So The example on the right is a demo that I did for GDC. It has a Beat Saber look and feel. I think that's like my hello world. But I told it to create an experience where rings basically come to me, and I'm using kind of like a pinch mechanic to destroy it. But that uses a feature-based approach, feature AI-based approach, which I basically am breadcrumbing the agent of everything that I wanted to do. So I'm not like, hey, create me a VR game, a Beat Saber clone. No, none of that. That's not the way to go. And then, okay, so now we go into Unity. So what are the tools that we are basically leveraging? So the Unity AI Assistant package is one that I'm using right now. There are multiple MCPs. I use CoPlay as well. I don't know if some of you, have you guys used any MCP CoPlay? Raise your hand. Okay, so a couple of CoPlay. How about Unity AI Assistant? Anybody? Okay, anybody has used any MCP for Unity? Okay, well, you're in the right session, guys. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so yeah, so this is great. Unity has done an amazing job. It used to be, well, it's a pre-release, so it's expected to be buggy, used to be buggy. They're making a lot of improvements. Right now, it's amazing, though. Like, it does work quite well. And when I say that, it's like whatever you tell the agent to do in Unity, it takes screenshots of whatever you're trying to create. And let's say you wanted to create a layout or a canvas that has a look and feel of what you want to build. You already have a code repo. You could basically point your agent to a repo and tell, hey, I want to create a UI that resembles something that maybe your designer built or your Figma file has, or your image generated file of a concept has. But anyways, the AI assistant, it is a built-in chat in Unity. And that's one way to use it. They have the Unity LLM. And that's their built-in, I think they train it on Gemini. And they have their own credit systems and their own payment subscription. But you can also use other agents such as Codex, which is, I'm going to talk about on the next slide. So it's a fully swappable agent. So you can use the Unity agent that I talk about. You can use Cloud Code, which is the one that I've been using for the last 2 to 3 months. And I know many of you probably heard about it or use it. And then Cursor Codex is one that I'm going to be trying next with my next project. And then Gemini as well. So you can see that you can change the agent on the chat window. And then the gateway, it's just a way of like, okay, I'm the gateway to all these different agents. And then you can also specify the API keys and all that. So there's a lot of features in Unity, but this talk is not about Unity. This talk is about Meta, so I'm not going to be showing you Unity. The one that I want to highlight, though, that is really important for developers is the Meta, the MCP server and the client. And some of you might say, hey, I want to use the chat that Unity provides, and that's totally fine. If you want to do that, do that. It's pretty cool. It's really feature-rich. But I like to use external IDEs. I like to use VS Code. I like to use Writer, things like that, or even Cloud Code. So anyways, you can use MCP server and client, and I'm going to show you also how to configure it. So this is a bare bone project. So if you wanted to start today after this talk, you're like, okay, I want to try this out. Dilmer, what do I do? So the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need Unity 6 at least or greater. You're also going to need the Unity AI package. So if you go to the Unity package manager and then you search for assistant, you're going to see it there. You need to enable pre-release because this is still a pre-release package. Just make sure that you have the checkbox enabled under preferences. And then I listed 2 different SDKs. You only need Meta XR Interaction SDK because it has a dependency to iSDK. And iSDK is an interaction SDK that allows you to handle hands, pretty advanced hand capabilities when it comes to VR and mixed reality development. And then the Meta Unity MCP Extensions is, if you don't install any of that, let's say you install only the top 2, you can still use the MCP. But if you want to get the capabilities of creating a camera rig, creating a grabbable component, maybe you want to grab an object in VR, or in mixed reality, you want to toss it and throw it, which is what I did with the, well, I don't throw it, but I pull a basketball, which I'll show you. Basically, if you wanted to do the VR capabilities, then you have to install the extensions that tells that extend the MCP with additional capabilities. And then in my case, this is when I was first testing it. I used Cloud Code. And then after that, I started using VS Code, and I didn't really go back because I really like the rich features that it provides with different, like if you do a git diff, or if you look at the files that were changed, if you're using AI, I think it's super powerful versus using the command line. But you're more than welcome to use what you prefer. And then this is just an example of like once you set up your MCP, if you expose the MCP through Unity, which does by default, you can also connect it to Claude, and you can do it through the command line. You can say Claude MCP add, and then there's basically a command that you have to execute, or you can go to the preferences, and there is an integration button that you press, and it generates basically the command that you need to execute. So Unity made it pretty easy. You can also, if you had, let's say, 2 developers working on it, and maybe, or like you have multiple console applications open, you have Cloud Code here, maybe you have a CLI here, that's going to be could be 2 different connections. So this is where you would accept what connections you allow and what you don't allow. Okay, so I show you setup, and now what can you do with the MCP? So this uses natural language, right? Like you don't have to just say add a camera rig, add a grabbable. It's like it's more expressive. So in the one on the top, this was my first test, my hello world. I just said add an interaction rig and then add a grabbable that is 10%, and that normally it's going to be 1/10 of a meter if you're dealing with VR. And then I said, okay, I want to activate the XR simulator so that I can actually try it, right? And then I can also say play Unity scene. So there's a lot of things happening in there. It's adding a camera rig, it is adding a grabbable, it's scaling it, and then it's activating the XR simulator, and then it's playing the Unity scene. And you can see the results on the right. Very simple test, but that saves you a lot of time. If you have a lot of game objects, if you're doing a lot of interactions, you don't have to figure it out. You can still look at what it did to understand it, and that's what I normally do is I go back and forth just to make sure that this thing doesn't replace me, and instead it's extending me, right? So this is something that I was thinking about this a lot when I was doing the talk, and I'm like, okay, what? A lot of the developers say, well, I don't want to vibe code, and I don't like that term. I like more like an agentic, right? Like an extension of you. Think about you cloning yourself multiple times. Maybe, I don't know, I'm playing with my son, or I'm going out, and then I have the agent running, then when I get back, I can check the results and say, okay, I like this. I look at the Git history and see what I want to accept, what I don't want to accept. That's the power of this, though. Like, now you have the power of letting this run, and then you can always check. That's what I always like, feature-based type approach. So whenever you're building something, I recommend I recommend starting with a prototype just to understand how this entire workflow works, and come up with a game mechanic, like a game idea, right? What is going to be the feature that you need to implement? And then when I was writing the feature that I'm going to show you, you have to also design the prompt. Like, don't be too vague. Don't give too much detail. Like, it just depends on really what you want. I actually use an LLM to help me with the prompt design many times just to make sure that I got the details right. Otherwise, this thing is going to go and do what you told it to do. You're not giving it enough details. And then prompt preview is something that I just constantly look at it. I was implementing leaderboards and achievement for a game that I built, a basketball game. And that's what I did. I just looked at the plan. I went back and forth until I was happy, and then accept it, and then I move on. And then, yeah, lots of iteration, right? Like, it's not going to work the first time. It might work the first time, but I think this is going to be iteration approach. It's not going to be like you code it and you prompt it and it's done, which I actually like. I like that I have control over what it's doing. So here's a very simple example. Like, the game mechanic is I'm pulling a ball, and as I basically pull the ball, I basically going to launch it based on the force, the distance from the pinch point to where I get it, and then I launch it, and you can see the results. So if you look at the prompt, I'm saying build a MetaQuest hand tracking pull ball mechanic, detect a thumb index pinch, spawn the ball at the pinch point, and then it's attached, keep it attached while pinching. Okay, so it looks like we got 10. Okay, I'll hurry up. So everywhere in there that you see, there's key terms. There's MetaQuest as a key term. I'm telling it hand tracking. So I already have the NCPs registered, right, for VR development. I also have something called a Meta CLI, which I showed you on the previous slide, one of the previous slides. So when I execute that prompt, if I don't have the camera rig, if I don't have the grabbables, the hand interaction components, it's going to create them for me. But yeah, so you can see VR scene setup, that'll happen. You can have it already set up, or it'll do it with this prompt. Or you can have VR-specific code, in this case, VR-specific code executed because the Meta MCP extension was registered. And then hand integration support, it's also added because I'm telling it to use hand tracking when pulling the ball. So when I talk about iteration, this is an example of iteration. The previous slide I showed you is just a very simple pull ball mechanic. But I am very picky about aesthetics. For some reason, I just love aesthetics, and I wanted to make sure that this looked cool. When I post it on so you get the people that follow me can see it. And so I told it, let's go ahead and iterate. Can you add a futuristic glowing shader to the ball? That was pretty vague, though. I didn't tell it to create an outline. I didn't tell it, I did specify some things, but not all the parameters that shader is exposing. When I did that, it didn't work, and that's because whenever you're creating a shader, the shader might render on only one eye. If you're using VR, you need to do a stereo, and there are keywords that you need to load into the shader in order for that to work. Well, the LLM figured it out, implemented it, and then it rendered correctly. So there's an example of the shader. I'm going to go fast here because I have a lot of slides. So I wanted to make a game loop. So I did a very simple mechanic. Now I'm going to make a game loop. And you can read it. It's basically the thing that I told you not to do at the beginning. This is the thing that I'm going to show you. But at that point, I already have the game mechanic. Now I'm creating the game loop. I'm going to tell it to create the UI. And basically, if 10 rings pass by me, the player is going to lose points. The player is going to lose. So I'll show you the video here really fast, maybe a few seconds. So that's the plan that I was telling you about. You can see that I still have access to the Unity editor. I can see what it's creating, the objects that it's generating. It told me to import TextMesh Pro. So I did a fast video here, but I was able to click it to import it. And then it also created an environment that was futuristic. And that's basically the result. So that was the first iteration. That basically took a day to do. The mechanics work, everything worked. I'm going to just go forward. But anyways, I did a lot of ideas. That was the basic demo. Then I'm like, OK, I want to add a trail effect to the ball. You can see here, that's another iteration. In that case, I use a reference image from a previous demo that I built. So you can use your own code, you don't need to use anybody. Just use your own code, your own examples, your own projects, and then provide it. And then I went crazy, and I couldn't sleep because everything was working so well. And then I kept going, because it is addicting, though. I've been talking to some people here that it's like, whoa, this thing is really, really good. And I have 6 minutes. And this is a final version. I felt like a kid that just all of a sudden found a new invention. And it is an invention, but I got really good results. And that's just 2 to 3 days of work, where last year I spent, I would say, about 2 to 3 weeks working on a demo for GDC, and that was all coded by hand. So this is within the last 3 months of changes. So yeah, for inspiration, the agentic acceleration use cases is you can make an idea playable right away. That is the power of all this. Add features like hand interactions without ramp-up time. Interaction SDK, it's complex. VR is complex. And these tools are enabling us to learn faster as well. You can talk to your agent and ask questions all the time. And then debugging and performance was great because I can pull logs from the device without having to go and do an hzdb command, trying to remember what the command was. Is the device connected or not? The agent will tell you what to do through the Meta CLI. So that's another demo that I built. So that one took me 2 days. The other one, I added 1.5 days. I took it to a tabletop game. And then the demo that I just showed you. And then I have 5 minutes. OK, V1, V2, and V3. V1 was a real-size basketball game. And I think I played with Apple Vision Pro in the past. And when I did that, I'm like, oh, volumes. It's just beautiful, right? How volumes look like. And you can have multiple applications running. So yeah, so that was one night. was like sitting with my kid playing, and I think I saw a commercial or something, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna turn it into a tabletop game. And I did that. And then that became like what you see right here on V3. We got leaderboards, we got achievements, we have an entire onboarding experience, which will check your scene to make sure that it is being scanned. And it actually allows you to place it on a table, on specific surfaces. And then, yeah, and then I launched the game in 30 days. So to be fair, the game, I was expedited on the approval process, so that might take the 30 days plus the 2 weeks, or 1 to 2 weeks that it takes to get approved. But it's crazy that I was able to get a simple, minimalistic game. And you can see I have more features that I don't think I have time to talk about. But I'll show you the demo here. And this one is cool. You can see I can bounce it against the core, or maybe I already showed that. So this is a placement on the air in front of the player, or on a table. Okay, here we go. So this is a new achievement. You bounce it against the core, or you can bounce it against the ceiling. So I started like ideating through this process. And then yeah, so key learnings pretty quickly here. Meta VRCLI registration was critical for this. Like without that, the agent wouldn't really know all the information that it needs to implement some of these features, like platform SDK, interaction SDK. We expose a lot of that information for agents, so the Meta VRCLI has those capabilities. Agentic workflows are great for editor tooling. You can see here that I created, this was on my plane from Salt Lake City, Utah to Long Beach, 1 hour and 30 minutes. I was able to implement themes. Like I can change the theme, I can change the core floor. So I even like recorded it. Like you can go on X and check it out. Like I'm actually implementing it. I think it took about an hour to implement, but that's like the power of using these tools. And then yeah, providing LLM with concepts. I did use OpenAI to get some concepts for me, some ideas, and you can also provide those to the agents. And then yeah, feature-based AI workflow, I think I can recommend that. And then another thing that I did, I was spending a lot of time bumping the version up of the build, signing the APK, which means that you have to put like your username and password for the keychain, and then also creating the build and then sending that to Meta Horizon. So I told the LLM that. I'm like, okay, I want to create a kind of like a continuous integration deployment process that did it for me. So I ended up creating a skill, and all I have to do is submit to the store. And what it does, it basically increments the version. It basically gives me a history of all the commits that are going to be included in that build. And then I can see the last version that was actually deployed and what it was deployed. So that saved me a lot of time. I could actually go do something while this was happening, and then I could check in my phone, oh, there's a new version that I can now push to players. And so 2 new last features. Meta Developer Assistant is coming. This is something that we talked briefly at GDC, but this is coming very soon. And it's, you look at it and you're like, oh, it's another chatbot, but it's actually pretty smart. Like it has a lot of knowledge about all of our documentation, all about Unity, all the different building paths. So I will look out for that. That's going to be part of the development portal. And then lastly, this is something that we haven't even talked about. I just got green light to talk about today. But the whole thing doesn't have eyes, right? Like the agents will take screenshots. And when it does that, you waste a lot of tokens, because sometimes taking pictures and provide to the agent is not the best solution. So this is actually going to run the simulator in the backend. And then you're going to be able to, it's basically going to be able to interact with the UI. So this is coming. It's called Meta XR Operator. And then we'll be talking more about it and providing more details. I have 47 seconds left. This is very important for us, guys. Like if you think like this session was helpful, if you learn, this will mean the world to us. If you submit the survey, tell us what you think about the session, what else you want to learn. And I got 30 seconds for questions, but if anybody has a question, I think right now is the time.
All right, who has some questions? Round of applause for Dilmer.
Thank you.
All right, question? All right.
Hey, thanks for the talk, and thanks for all the work you've done over the years, helping devs with the new hardware and everything. A quick question around project awareness, and like say you had like a manager or like pooling system for your balls in your game. Does this sort of workflow support like custom code as well, or like how do you get that awareness?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I did a lot of that on some of these demos where I went to my GitHub project, the tabletop game. I made a bowling game in the past. So what I did for that is I did provide some images, but I also provide a couple of code snippets. So you can bring in, like if you have your own package on GitHub, you can clone it, put it in the same directory. You can tell the agent to look at a directory. So yeah, I think a combination of multiple things. If you have coding patterns or standards at your company, I think that's something that I would like work on as part of the plan initially. That way you can like set up yourself for success and you don't end up with like, it doesn't create a spaghetti code anymore, but it will create things that you might not understand. So you can prevent that from the very beginning.
All right.
Hey, Dilmer.
Hey, man, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, yeah. So my question is, if I already have like a kind of built out prototype in Unity, using the Meta SDK, and then it's like a single player experience, let's say like putting out a fire extinguisher training in MR. But if I want to like make that a co-located multiplayer experience, what would you say is the best process of like integrating your agentic flow into that process, like an existing project?
Yeah, I think like anything, it could be an old project or, I mean, it needs to be running on Unity 6, so that will be like a requirement. But other than that, you can just install, we're rolling out Meta VR CLI renames. Right now it's called hzdb. But just make sure that whatever agent you're using, that is registered as an MCP, because it's going to go up and say, hey, how do I implement collocation? And then it's going to go through our documentation, it's going to go through our samples, and I did that with this. So this has something called persistent anchors. And what it happens is if I kill the app and I restart the app, it's going to know exactly where I put the tabletop game, and that stuff is pretty complex. At least it was for me back in the day. So that I was able to do that because of the Meta VR CLI.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, one more question.
Thank you. Hi, so I'm gonna piggyback off the question you had. So let's say you have an existing project. Do you have to give it a prompt to make it understand what's going on in the existing project and then ask it what to do?
I think it'll do, so normally it scans the project, it'll go through all the source code. So when you start Claude, you have to execute it at a location. So when it has that location, it'll basically start looking, and I did that on a couple of different projects, start scanning everything. I think for that, I recommend, at the beginning it's fine, but then you're gonna start creating skills that tell the agent, hey, like my project criteria is this, or these are the APIs that it accesses. So yeah, at the beginning, yes, but then as you build up the project, it's gonna make it a lot easier. Great question.
All right, perfect. Let's give it a round of applause for Dilmer.
Thank you. Excellent.